Here's your lesson. Okay. There were no waves of feminism. This is by the way, Jedediah, Bila, if you're watching, you better, this is what I'm going to come correct with when we have our feminist talk here. I've said in the past, and I will say this once more, everyone you know today is a feminist. Everyone. To identify as a feminist or not is completely irrelevant in 2022. It is meaningless in 2022. Everything you know, the very fact that she is able to be on a show like this right now is the product of a feminist ideology, and that is an ideology. There were no waves of feminism. There were no good feminists and bad feminists. It is the same movement. I was tracked back. Now, when people ask me this question, I track this back. I've done the full. I'm not going to do it again. I have a full episode on feminism. You can go back and look at that. But it is the same movement. It has always been since 1848, 49. Seneca Falls, New York, the convention, the suffragette convention. It has been the same movement. Suffragettes were considered terrorists at the time. Still are. Plotted assassinations of political figures, bombed police precincts, and not just in the United States, but also in the UK. They were considered terrorists. And by the way, we always talk about, repeal the 19th. Yeah, I love it when people like give me that bullshit about like, oh, we got to repeal the 19th. We're going to take the vote right. They're not incorrect when they point out the fact that women are the ones who decide votes or decide elections right now. I think it's ludicrous to try to take that right away from women right now. But one of the things that these guys never really think about, and by the way, young women don't think about the same thing. They don't even know how they got to that point. They couldn't even tell you what year the 19th Amendment was ratified. 1920, August 18th. I know that one. Hey, I got stats. Go look it up. Hey, he's pulling that out of his ass. No, I'm not. Go look it up. I've done essays on it. I know what I'm talking about. And you know what happened? It was one dude from I forget the guy's name, from the state of Tennessee. He was a senator from the state of Tennessee, and he was the one deciding vote that got women the right to vote, that passed the 19th Amendment. And he did so because he was going to be against it. And then his mother sent him a note and said, be a good boy and votes for women. And he changed his vote because he's a mama's boy. One beta is all it took. That guy is a lesson. There's a lesson in there. I could tell you the story about that, but we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about those little stupid points because, fucking ain't nobody got time for that, right?
Things. But I would say before it was more fair. Does that make sense?
Okay, so we'll stay in your lane.
Yeah.
I love what you brought up because no fault divorce in 1970s changed everything.
Yeah.
I keep on forgetting the name of the birth control. Is it Envoyed or Envoyed in 1950s? I forgot the name of the first birth control in 1950s. It changed the whole entire game.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right? But you primarily said the system today is broken to not benefit men.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And so my argument is that if you had a community of guys who are investing
bad jump cut, Pearl, keep going,
all their money, all their energy, we're getting into law. We're supporting these people. We're putting these people on our platform. And we're putting these champions who are going to go into Congress and going to go into the local places.
That's a good idea. You should do that.
No, let's stop. Let's stop right here.
Yeah.
You said it was a good idea, right?
Yeah.
Why aren't those people doing it? Because you're the one who told me they believe the system is broken. That's what you told me. So therefore, if
they can't do it, the people who go in there, imagine running on imagine being the first dude to run on the red pill form. I mean, you can't even have Andrew Tate gets blown off of all media. They erased him in the space of 1 week. That's why. How did we come? Well, what's the reason for that? Well, the reason for that is because that is the ability to do something like that. You want to know why woke culture is the predominant one right now? That's why. Because it started back in 1965 when we started. It's just this snowball effect to where we're at. Don't be surprised where we're at. You will never see anybody run on that platform. Very rarely. You might see like Vladimir Putin come out and talk about how the family is the basis of their society, or what's that Italian prime minister girl? She might say something like that. Maybe we'll get to that point. I don't know. But I'll tell you right now, as far as the powers that be, the gynocentric powers that be, you're not going to get to that point. That's why. Maybe there are. Do you know if there's guys out there trying to run on a quote unquote red pill platform? to reform marriage, to reform. Yeah, I've said that. I said this directly to Jedediah's face. I will not vote for a woman. I don't care if she's Democrat or she's Republican. I will not vote for a woman because women organize societies differently than men. And I think that the result of that is where we're at today in society. I will not vote for a woman, period. End of story. Because they rule and organize society in a much different way than men do. Just the same way, and by the way, the same way I think that there needs to be more men in teaching jobs right now because men teach differently than women. I will say that as well. You want to start, here's the thing, it's not politics. And politics is, that's like, I've criticized, by the way, I've criticized the MRAs for exactly this point, okay? And what I've said is that the MRAs tend to be like top-down guys, right? Oh, we're going to go and we're going to petition. We're going to get men's battery shelters. We need something for battered men shelters instead of battered women. And there's like for every 1,000 women's battered shelters, there's one for a guy. And it's like, oh yeah, the champions of the MRA. Do you know how long the MRA has been in existence? It's prior to the internet, by the way. What have they achieved in that time? Do you know that, Hafiz? No, you don't. I do. I follow it along. It's one of my primary criticisms of the men's right. Of course, then it became the men's human rights because we couldn't just have it men. It's the men's human rights thing. Men's rights, the MRAs really want to be more perfected feminists. The reason why MRAs fail is because they believe in the lie of egalitarian equalism. That's why. Until they accept the fact that men and women are different and the fact that patriarchy is a much more balanced system idealistically is a much more balanced system than gynocentrism ever will be and is a much more balanced system than egalitarian equalism ever will be. They will always fail. That's why you want to know why the most vocal advocates for the MRAs are females? That's why, because we only take women seriously. That you want to know why Pearl is going on Vice? Because we only take women seriously. They won't have Rolla Tomasi on there. They won't go to the fucking source. Oh, we got a chick on here. You know what? I'll tell you, I'll give you another example. Oh, thank you, Dr. Thunder, very much for that. You know what? You get one of those. What is this? Industrial Revolution took fathers out of the home to work in factories in the 1800s. Yes. Without dad at home, feminism started during this time and everything else was downhill. Yeah. By the way, when I have done my homework on feminism, it's no coincidence that feminism started at about the time of the Industrial Revolution and also coincided with the rise of Marxism. That's a topic for another show, but don't get too lost in the sauce there. Anyways, getting back to my point here is the reason why you don't see male MRAs or the best known MRAs are Cassie J. He couldn't even name anybody. I don't really think does he even know who Dean Esme or Paul Elam are? He just even ever read any articles off of A Voice for Men? I doubt it. He's too busy trying to come up with the next, Confucius say fortune cookie tea leaf bullshit to put on his Twitter feed. Some motivational, inspirational bullshit rather than like sticking to the freaking facts and doing something like significant. That's why it's all people can, hey, you're going to talk about Hafiz. Do I need to? Because this is the example that I'm talking about here. Now, getting back to Pearl here. Okay. Once again, I was watching, here's the story. I was watching the Piers Anthony, debate, the Piers Anthony interview of Andrew Tate. And right after that, they had a panel show to say, well, what did you think of this? Right. They had Leah Heilpern on there, whose show I have been on. They had, what's her name? Is her name Elizabeth or I forget the girl's name, the black girl who's also British. I follow her on Instagram, on Twitter, and I can't remember her last name, but I know her from Twitter. She's a Twitter friend. They had one other chick, and they had some other kind of dickless guy that was on there just to sort of like be the token male on the panel. And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, how are these people, these three-quarters of which were women? How is it that they're experts on this? Why is it that they were chosen to give their professional analysis, their educated expert witnesses about Andrew Tate. And of course, Leah Hogpern. By the way, Leah, sorry, not sorry, but she has most definitely been alpha widowed by Tate. It took one episode. It took one interview over a year ago. And remember, Leah Hogpern's the queen of crypto, the queen of Bitcoin. She's a crypto girl. Now suddenly she's pivoting to, I don't know. How about that manosphere shit? Oh, yeah, I love Bitcoin. Yeah, sure. Let's talk about politics. Let's talk about Andrew Tate. I talked to him once a long time ago, and it was a great interview. Let me tell you more. I know everything about him. So that's your expert witness, right? Or I forget. I want to say her name is Elizabeth, the girl who's the black girl. Like, I like her a lot. I follow her. We kind of throw things back and forth on Twitter for a long time now. But I'm like, how are these the people that get the call? I can come on the remote with you. I've known Andrew since like 2017 or 2016, actually. I knew him before the 21 convention, actually. But like, I have Leah Hogpern. You ain't got but one interview. I've got how many did I did 2 Q&As and I did 3 episodes with Tate, and then I did 1 with Tristan. How come I don't get to go? Oh, he just wants his flowers. No, I don't care one way or the other. I want to know why you're choosing them. Because when a woman says the same thing, it seems like it's a better feel, right? Oh, Cassie J made the case for MRAs. Why are they why are women the spokespersons for men's rights activism? No, they have sons. Yeah, okay, but Christina Hoff Sommers just built a brand off of that shit. So did Cassie J. That's my problem. And you want to know why I have a problem with like women entering this space? And yes, Tori, I am still I love Tori. I think Tori's probably the top of the heap right there. But if I go and I look at like Allie or I look at Pearl, I have to be very, hesitant. I got to be very particular. I'm going to be more particular of you than I would of guys even. And I got a problem with a lot of the guys. But if you're the one that's getting the call from Joe Rogan, if you're the one getting the call from Tim Pool, if you're the one that's getting the call from Tucker Carlson to tell him about Andrew Tate, there's a reason why they're calling you. And it's not because you got big tits and a vagina. It's because it sounds better coming from a woman than it does from a knowledgeable guy who's been doing this for a very long time. They don't want the fire. Neither does Hafiz for that matter. So that is, and I already did the show. That's why I have a big problem with women in the space right now. I'm not saying that they can't be in the space. Just come correct. What did you say? I only told my editor to cut the dead air. I sent you the screenshot. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Pearly. Let's see. Grab some of these. Would most female content creators within the Red Pill space close all channels, social media, etc., if their man asked them to? No. Just like they wouldn't go off of Instagram. You got to remember, I've called this the hustle economy, but for women, it's kind of like the attention economy. So why? You have to ask yourself, why is it that Pearl gets the call from Vice? Why is it that Leah Hogpern gets the call from the BBC or whoever, like Piers Morgan? Why? Well, because they're comfortable. It sounds better. You know what it is? I'll tell you why. Here's the effect. Iron Disciples, I hope you're listening. Religious guys, I hope you're listening. You know why? Here's the effect. Have you ever been at church and it's Valentine's Day or it's close to Valentine's Day? We're going to talk about, the sermon's always about love, right? And the righteous way to have sex and marriage and everything else. And I guess in most evangelical churches, okay? So track with me here. Like the pastor goes, hopefully not Pastor Driscoll, but he goes up to the top, he goes to the sermon, he starts delivering it, and he brings his wife on the stage with him, which of course is, I don't know, it's a little sketchy considering that the Bible says that women shall not teach, but brings him up, brings a girl on, brings his wife on. Here's my bride, brings his bride, still refers to her as bride, on stage so that he has an expert witness. Oh, well, he's saying, girls, he's saying the right thing. It's okay. He gets the female stamp of approval for this sermon on Valentine's Day. Have you ever had that? You ever had that happen? Not in my church. Whatever. I've seen this happen. In fact, when I was doing for 3 years, I saw this happen. When I was doing the buildup for my book, Religion, That was one of the things that struck me. I was always focused on like Mother's Day sermons and Father's Day sermons, but then I have to say, I did notice a marked difference in the Valentine's Day, the February 14th-ish sermons were much different. I'm going to bring my wife up here so she can give a little bit of a message too for the ladies, because the ladies don't want to take my word as authority. They'll only listen to a chick. Let's get Dr. Joyce Myers up here. Let's get Beth Moore up here. Let's let the women lead the Valentine's Day, because if we don't, this guy might get charged with sexual harassment, or he might say something, and we wouldn't want to alienate 50% of our audience, right, Chris? That's the effect that I'm talking about. It doesn't have to be at church. It can be on Piers Morgan's show as well. So